Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about China and the fact that they have now declared all cryptocurrency transactions illegal. In other news, I found a quarter. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Now, the most simplistic way to say this is that China bans Bitcoin, which is more or less what it's done over and over and over the last several years. However, if you actually look at the nuances of every single move they make, sometimes they're going after miners, sometimes they're going after exchanges, now they're going after all cryptocurrency transactions. But I would say that any person who's been in the crypto space long enough knows that China going after Bitcoin or Bitcoin derivatives is a Tuesday, right? Like it's not something that is meant to be earth shattering. It's not meant, in my opinion, it should not be breaking news. It's, oh, China has decided to go after Bitcoin for the 7,000th time. And the market, as far as I can tell, will have diminishing returns on the extent to which it cares. Now, I would say that's a form of diminishing returns that all market participants can get behind. So, when we don't really talk about the news that much on this channel because I do think the news is largely irrelevant. And I don't say that in the sense that nothing matters, right? Like, I mean, if certain things were to play out, like it can make a difference, like institutions, if there's news of institutions buying Bitcoin, then yes, it can affect the market. What I mean is that when Bitcoin is bullish, people don't care about the bad news, and when it's bearish, people don't care about the good news. That doesn't mean any given day the market participants won't react, right? We know that they will. Yesterday, Twitter announced that it was, implementing the tipping feature for Bitcoin, and yeah, the market pumped a little bit. When anything happens, if Elon tweets about Bitcoin, depending on whether it's a positive or a negative thing, maybe it can have a short-term effect on the market. But in my experience, it doesn't really change the macro trend, right? It doesn't really change the macro trend. And a lot of people will assume that it does, or they will rationalize these events as single-handedly causing major shifts in the market. For instance, when Tesla bought Bitcoin, or I should say when they announced that they bought Bitcoin, it corresponded to the rally that broke us through above 42K and took us all the way up here. But we were already heading up, okay? A lot of people say, well, Tesla or Bitcoin needs Tesla to, well, I mean, Bitcoin made it from 10 cents to tens of thousands of dollars without Tesla. Okay, so Bitcoin doesn't need Tesla. Bitcoin doesn't need China. But I would say that, a lot of people give Elon a hard time for at least temporarily removing Bitcoin payments. But at the same time, the market was already well extended beyond where it should have been. And I said this back then. Now, of course, people will use it as reason to say that's what's causing the market to go down. But I don't really think that's true. And if anything, I mean, Elon has the fact that Tesla bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin is a lot more than a lot of other people have done. I mean, like how many people here have bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin? Not very many people have done that. So to give him a hard time for not accepting Bitcoin as payment and saying that he causes the market to go down is not really a fair assessment. In fact, the price of Bitcoin right now at 42K is the same level it was at before that news broke and took us above. So it hasn't really changed anything. In the same way, China declaring all cryptocurrency transactions illegal, it might be somewhat interesting. Like, okay, I'll read the news article and see like what they're doing this time. But am I going to be thinking about it beyond that? Probably not, because they do this type of stuff all the time, and it's amazing that market participants react the way they do. But I would say that I do think it's going to have continued diminished effects on the market just like a lot of things will have diminishing effects on the market. As the market matures and the asset class grows, it's going to be harder and harder for any individual event to affect the trajectory of Bitcoin. Okay, it's going to be harder and harder for it to do so. So I think you have to look at this stuff and you just have to take it in stride. You have to take it in stride, and it sort of brings up the point of how do you deal with FUD? Like, how do you deal with it? Well, if you think about it, FUD and FOMO are the two main drivers of the cryptocurrency market. And if you only ever buy Bitcoin when you feel FOMO, and you only ever sell Bitcoin when you are experiencing FUD, or there's FUD going around, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, then you're probably not doing so well, right? You're probably not doing so well. If you're the person that bought a 64K and you FOMO'd in because you thought it was immediately going to 300, like was told to you by a lot of people, then you probably know that feeling of buying Bitcoin at the worst time. And there's a high likelihood that the same people that bought it at 55, 65K or whatever, 64K, there's a good chance they also capitulated when it dropped to 29K. And if that's you, it's fine. I want to say that. It's fine if that was you. Just learn from your mistake. We've all been through it. We all like to pretend like we've never done that type of stuff. But in reality, basically every single person here has been that person once upon a time where they buy the top and then they sell when it's going down. But if history has taught us anything with Bitcoin, it's that it does stand the test of time, and that your ROI on Bitcoin tends to be quite high as long as you don't capitulate at the worst possible time. Okay? So, I would say the better way to navigate the market is not to buy into FOMO and sell into FUD. The better way to navigate the market is to sell into FOMO. Sell into that liquidity when it's at 64K, right? Sell into it and buy into fear. And if you had to guess, which person do you think does better? The person that buys the fear or the person that sells the greed? Or sorry. Which person do you think, the person that does better, I guess, is the person that buys the fear and sells the greed. But which person do you think is better between buying the fear and selling the fear? Historically, the person that buys the fear ultimately does better. Because again, if you go look at a chart, the person that is buying the fear and selling the greed, they're the ones that do better, right? They're the ones that do better. Not the people that buy it at local highs and then capitulate the minute it goes down. No, the counterpoint is to say, well, if the person who bought here sold here, then it would have been better than watching it go all the way down. And there's some truth to that, right? If they sell there, it's better than waiting for it to go down there. But that's not really how market participants behave. A lot of times what would happen, and I don't mean to, I'm not trying to call anyone out, but what happens is that they buy here and then they sell here only to buy back here and then sell back here and then buy back and then sell back. And it's just like a brutal process. Whereas instead, if you had bought here, you basically just say, you have to admit to yourself that you bought at a bad time. You bought at a really bad time, and that if history is any indication, that Bitcoin will eventually bail you out. And you might have to wait a while if you bought at a market cycle peak, but it likely will eventually bail you out. If you're constantly selling when we go below the 20 week and buying when we go above, and that's all you ever do, you're just reacting to the market in the worst possible way, and you are the liquidity. Not only are you the exit liquidity at the top, you're also the entry liquidity at the bottom, because when someone buys at the bottom, they have to buy it from someone, okay? So, you have to take the news in stride. The news, it can affect things in the short term, but at the end of the day, they're not going to change momentum shifts in the market, right? They're not going to change overarching trends, and that is the way I would navigate it. Yes, China has banned Bitcoin. It's declared all cryptocurrency transactions illegal, and it's gone after Bitcoin for the 7,000th time to date. In other news, I found a quarter. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.